Pope Leo goes on then as he's
Number
wrapping
3.
up this address. And I think this is just a great little move that he makes. And I'd encourage you, read the text of this, like go and look at the actual text, because there's something interesting that's happening. He says,
But whatever you do, don't read it online.
No, that's the only place you can find it. Go ahead and read it online.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This brings us to the third invitation in this mission, which I extend to all of you. Quote, go and mend the nets. End quote. Jesus called his first apostles while they were mending their fishing nets. He asks the same of us today. Now, this is really interesting because Jesus did not ask the apostles to mend their nets. They were doing that on their own. He found them mending the nets and said, come follow me. And so Leo is saying this is his request. Like there's something personal about this. As the universal shepherd of the church, Leo is asking all of us, or all of the digital missionaries and social media influencers, to go and mend the nets. Not come follow me, but go mend the nets. Like start fixing the broken thing here so that it can become a way to follow Jesus. Right? And that's actually really interesting. He asks
How
us
should
to
one
weave,
do that, I ask?
Well, Leo will go on and say this. Indeed, he asks us to weave other nets, networks of relationships, of love, of gratuitous sharing where friendship is profound and authentic, networks where we can mend what has been broken, heal from loneliness, not focus on the number of followers, but experience the greatness of infinite love in every encounter, networks that give space to others more than to ourselves, where no bubble can silence the voices of the weakest, networks that liberate and save, networks that help us rediscover the beauty of looking into each other's eyes, networks of truth. So, this is real interesting, right? Because he's saying to those who would be in that digital space as missionaries and as evangelists, like, fix the broken community. Now, he doesn't provide prescription, just the vision for what it should be. So fix this broken thing so that it can be this. So he's giving us the vision, and I think it's good that he does not dive into the details of how to actually do the fixing, because there's probably a lot more than as Pope that he would be able to tackle. But there are some important things here. And so this is where, again, I'm like, what's the role of the church, like at the parish level? What's the role of the parish? What's the role of the diocese in how we use this? And might it not be for things like advocating with parents and with school systems to limit the use of technology? Might it be at the political level, like part of our engagement as a church with the public square?
Yeah.
Might it be to advocate for some serious oversight and regulation of this industry that is unregulated, that is the Wild West, and that is not serving the needs of our children?
It's very interesting, because I think built into like that short paragraph is that the final end, not going to use that could be used philosophically, as in like the why. I don't mean the why. I mean the landing spot, the landing place of any kind of digital interaction should ultimately be some kind of physical interaction. Like I think that you could get there, at least in the sense of a...
Should we say?
Well, I don't know actually, because like, let's say that someone's got like a bajillion followers,
Yeah,
Matt Frad's not meeting all of us,
Yeah, well, let's say something like in-person, interpersonal. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be physical, but there's a huge difference between when I listen to a band digitally online and if I go to that band's concert.
Sure.
When I'm at the concert, I am, in a certain way, having an encounter with everybody else in the audience. We have a shared human experience of listening to this band that is different than if I just listen to the band by myself and then tell somebody, you should listen to this band, and they, by themselves, listen to that band.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, okay, so fair enough. But I would say that if you say to someone, hey, you should listen to that band, and then you guys both talk about it later on, there's something there.
There is, yep.
So there's some kind of communication there.
Yeah, even that, there's a difference in like, all right, I told you to listen to this, and you went and listened to it, as opposed to like back in the days of vinyl, come over and listen to this song. I want to play this for you. And together you sit and listen to it. This is also the difference between like how television is watched. Mm-hmm. It used to be a TV show was on and it was only on at a certain time. And you either watched it with other people or everybody you knew was watching that show also at the same time.
Right.
And then you could talk about the experience that you had of watching it or just what the show was and everything. Now when it's entirely up to you to watch, you watch by yourself when you want, according to your schedule. It's deeply not not interpersonal. It's individualistic. Right?
Yes.
So
it
again,
is a culture of isolation.
Yeah. The difference of a shared experience.
Yeah.
We go to a concert together and we listen to this music together. Mm-hmm. We go to a movie and we watch the movie together. Mm-hmm. There's a difference, right? And again, this is where like the more we get isolated into this thing. So if I go to a talk and I listen to this person give a talk, I'm part of the event. Everybody is hearing the same message. That same talk could be recorded and people can listen to it. Like you can listen to the radio or you can listen to a podcast, which is a crazy idea. I know, but you could listen to that and sure, like you might meet somebody who also listens to the same podcast as you and you can talk about that. And so there is in that way a shared experience. But you have to get to the point of being able to talk about the music or the podcast.
Yeah.
Before you do this. I was actually with two couples the other night. One is a married couple. The other is an engaged couple. The married couple is mentoring the engaged couple to help them get ready for marriage. And at one point in the conversation, we were talking about music, and one of the guys asked me, "Father, what kind of music do you like?" But before I could answer that question, one of the folks who were hosting us had a dog, and like they had 2-3 dogs, I don't know. And like one of the dogs just started barking like crazy. And so we all just kind of got distracted by the dog. So together in this encounter and in this interpersonal experience, we were all distracted. Right. And I never got to talk about what kind of music I like to listen to. So it's like, dodge the bullet, didn't have to share personally. This is great. Right. Anyway, all that is to say, I think, well, I think this is where we get to that point of like, what is it that like Leo has laid out, like the important things that we have to be careful of and that we have to be aware of. And it's going to be up to us to figure out the practical method to apply this in the world. And I'm not sure what that is.
Well, so I do think that he gives a little hint as to how to do it as well. So the first thing is, okay, the reason that I said it leads to that physical connection was because he said healing of loneliness. And if you never end up in the same room as the person, like then that healing from loneliness, it's not going to happen, I don't think. I think it demands being in the same room as someone.
I agree.
It also said the beauty of looking into each other's eyes. I was like, wow, okay, right. So he's literally saying like, be face to face, right?
Yeah.
But I guess, the last thing that stuck out to me is he talks about being agents of communion. And perhaps that stuck out to me because, tangentially here, have you ever had a number that you like saw pop up in your life with frequency? And you never, like, it didn't necessarily mean anything, but you just have noticed it a lot?
You mean like a telephone number?
No. Okay. So like for me, for whatever reason.
You gotta remember, I grew up in an era when like I can remember my home telephone number from when I was a kid, and I can remember one of my best friend's home telephone numbers.
Right. Fair enough.
Those phone numbers,
I guess it could be within that context, but that's not really what I mean. So like, here's the example. Okay. This is going to sound cornier than I'm intended to. But I'll just go ahead and say like the Lord uses literally everything, even things like this. And so the number 1218 has popped up in my life often. And by pop up, I mean I've just noticed it. And I think the reason I originally started noticing the number 1218 is because it was just around that time that I ate lunch in high school. And so I would be looking at the clock often, and I would see the number 1218. But anytime after that, like, I would notice it, I would be like, oh, it's 1218, And then I heard a story once, actually from Liz Sweeney on Restless, where she talked about how she had a similar phenomena where that she would see this number and like the number came to mean something significant to her, and then she took that number and put it in her favorite book of the Bible, and it was a verse that applied to her. Right? I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I looked up Romans 12:18, and it basically says, live at peace with everyone insofar as you are able to. And that meant a lot to me as someone who has a tendency to get angry sometimes. I was like, oh, I cannot believe this is what it turned out to be, And so I kind of looked, like, I saw Agents of Communion, and I was like, what a method, using this platform that has been so used to spread, like, calumny and dissension and anger and but like beyond anger, fury and the desire for revenge, that like, well, how can we use the internet? Not in that way. Use the internet as an agent of communion. And so, like, to an extent, that means trying to live out the Christian life that St. Paul talks about in Romans, which is like, well, I don't know if he says it in Romans exactly, but the point is, like, with kindness and saying good things. He literally says, like, say things that will be helpful to people, which sounds like very basic advice, but it's good advice, like, don't approach things with malice. He could follow that up with you dints, but he doesn't because he's writing the Bible. and that wouldn't be following his own advice.
Deep down, he's a nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Although, doesn't he start the letter to the Galatians with "You stupid Galatians"?
He doesn't start it with that, but he does tell them that they are stupid, which is again a favorite passage of mine.
Yeah.
So let's take that quote a little bit further here. He says, "Be agents of communion, capable of breaking down the logic of division and polarization, of individualism and egocentrism." So breaking down the logic of division and polarization, of individualism and egocentrism, because fundamentally the logic that those isms follow is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a logic that actually makes sense because they're based on false premises. So like division and polarization, individualism, egocentrism, these are rooted in something that's false. So we have to, if we're going to be agents of communion, we have to be able to break down, that is, like, dismantle this flawed false logic so as to promote a logic of communion. And that's where he says, then center yourselves on Christ, because Christ then becomes the focal point. And that allows you to overcome the logic of the world, of fake news, of frivolity. You overcome all of those logics with the beauty of light and truth.
And perhaps to bring it full circle, right? That's why I said the first thing that I noticed had to do with the book, The Soul of the Apostolate. And admittedly, I'm like 13 pages into this book, but it's okay. so it's not that I have a full scope of this book, but rather, like, even that early on, he's saying some profound things.
No, you've pretty much got the whole crux of the entire argument of the book. You could stop there.
Right, fair enough.
No, don't do that. Don't read the whole thing. Read the whole thing. It's worth it. Yeah.
But he says, like,
I'm supposed to encourage spiritual reading.
Yeah. Encouraged. I want you to know I feel encouraged.
Good.
But he says basically, like, he talks about the missionary who has an interior life versus the one who doesn't, and how the Lord justly, what's he do? He cuts off, in a sense, the success of the mission for the one who doesn't have the interior life, because in order to accomplish a supernatural end, Christ accomplishes supernatural ends in and through us. We don't do that apart from him. And so, like, he very justly cuts things off, And so the point is, like, well, I would argue that, like, being an agent of communion, according to a Christian humanism, that would be a spiritual end. And so, like, really, if you want to do this, if we want to repair the internet space, then, like, one needs to be rooted in Christ, right? Because you're not going to be able to do something that bears that supernatural fruit if it's not Christ acting in and through you.
Now, and that's where I come to the point of to be a digital missionary, as any missionary needs to have an interior life, needs to have a spiritual life. To be a missionary in that social media sphere, I think, is all the much harder, because I don't think that social media lends itself to cultivating the interior life.
No.
I don't know that there's much of an interior life when you're wrapped up in social media stuff. And maybe that's the greatest danger. Is like, how can we encourage people to have an interior life while also encouraging them to use social media? And yet social media can be such a great tool. Yeah. We have to remove from social media the things that make it inimical to an interior life.
Yes. I would say this, like, even as a starting position, like, I know that I'm not answering the question you just posed.
Right.
But from a practical perspective, as someone who, does this, jokes aside, like, I spend a lot of time on the internet, right? For my job, which is a missionary job in nature, if you will,
And by the way, Matt, I'm glad that you do it and I don't have to.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Enough.
I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to God that I don't have to do that stuff. So thank you. Thank you for falling on that hand grenade for me.
Yeah, you're
really
welcome.
Appreciate it. You're the best.
You're welcome. But the point is, like, I've had to very intentionally incorporate screen breaks.
Yeah.
Like, from a very human and practical perspective, it's like, well, I shouldn't be looking at the screen for this long. Like, that's not healthy. And so. Just incorporating breaks where this is one of the beauties of I get to work from home pretty often, and it's like, well, I actually go out and I interact with my family. Like, I try not to, it's not just that I'm taking a break from work, it's that I'm taking a break from a screen. And so, like, I go interact with a human being, and then I guess I don't want to say I get that human, like, fix, that's terrible language to use, but, like, it's almost like it restores my humanity. And then I return to it. And of course the at a minimum would be like, you can't give what you don't have, right? Like, I have to do that, you know? So I guess my point is, anyone who's doing this kind of thing has to have that, because we're made for relationship, and that's why this is what it, this is why this is all tending that direction. The telos of the internet should actually be relationship. Thanks for watching today's video. Let us know what you thought down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.